White House leaks indicate that J.D. Vance is pushing for diplomacy with Iran as their regime continues to massacre thousands of protesters. This is just one part of a disturbing pattern that should concern any Republican looking ahead to 2028. Welcome back. We've got a big, still developing story today as the situation in Iran continues to unfold. If you haven't already, please hit like and subscribe. I've got some major things planned for the year ahead, and I want you to go along with me. With that, let's jump in. For those unaware, massive protests have erupted across Iran over soaring prices and economic collapse. The Iranian regime's response has been brutal. Reports suggest anywhere from 2,500 to over 12,000 protesters have been killed. Before the massacre started, Trump made it clear, if Iran kills protesters, there would be hell to pay. But then the massacre started, and Trump has done nothing. Crickets. Why? Because J.D. Vance has been pushing Trump to pursue a diplomatic resolution instead. Vance has publicly stated that diplomacy about Iran's nuclear program is the smartest path forward. Now, to be clear, Trump just announced hours ago that he's been told that the killing in Iran has stopped. He admitted that he couldn't verify that and said, we'll find out if that's true. But even if that is true, thousands are already dead. And the only reason Iran might be backing down now is because Trump's threat of real consequences finally got their attention, not Vance's diplomacy. And there would be a major issue if Trump did decide to go with Vance's suggestion of diplomacy toward a nuclear deal. What would be the goal of that diplomacy? Would the goal be stopping the regime from murdering protesters? It can't be, because no nuclear deal would stop that. Would the goal be lifting sanctions so that economic conditions improve? Maybe, but then why would Vance be pushing for a nuclear deal? Is Vance overly concerned with keeping the Iranian regime in power? That would be insane, because the Iranian people clearly don't want that, and it's the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. It's objectively worse for America if they stay in power. What that means is that there would be no real end goal to Vance's diplomacy. It would just be diplomacy for diplomacy's sake. And that reminds me of the Biden-Harris foreign policy. From the moment Biden went on the campaign trail, it was all about diplomacy. He was constantly saying diplomacy, diplomacy, diplomacy. He treated diplomacy itself as a foreign policy goal. But diplomacy cannot be a foreign policy goal. It is a tool to achieve your foreign policy goals. It is a method, not an objective. And here's the thing, Trump understands that distinction. He tried diplomacy with Iran with the goal of ending their nuclear ambitions. When that failed, he struck their nuclear facilities. Trump tried diplomacy with Maduro with the goal of either getting him to exile himself or to stop sending drugs to America. When that failed, Trump removed him. Both times, Trump drew red lines. Those red lines were crossed, and Trump acted. Now, remember, Trump drew a red line with these protests. He told Iran not to kill protesters or there would be hell to pay. Now, Vance is trying to get Trump to walk back on his red line. What's scary about this from Vance is that this is the Obama foreign policy playbook. In Syria, Obama drew a red line on chemical weapons. When they started using chemical weapons, Obama got cold feet and just ran away, handing the country over to Putin instead. He looked weak in that moment, and the United States was weak in that moment. Now Vance is doing the same thing. What's wild about this is that in 2017, Vance wrote an op-ed in the New York Times praising Obama personally, but explicitly saying that he opposed Obama's foreign policy. 9 years later, Vance has now become Obama. Obama framed every foreign policy decision as either diplomacy or war. That's exactly what Vance and his buddies are doing now. Obama wanted an Iranian nuclear deal, preferred diplomacy over action in Iran. He hoped that a deal would moderate the Iranian regime. Vance is using the identical playbook. Even the rhetoric is essentially the same. Obama said that he's not opposed to all wars, just dumb wars. Vance said last week that back when we were in wars, we had a dumb president, now we have a smart one. That's nearly a word-for-word retelling of Obama's ideas. Vance is just rebranding it as somehow America first when it's anything but. And most importantly, diplomacy or war is a false dichotomy. I've seen people online saying that if we do something, we'll just get dragged into another endless war. If Vance actually believes that, then he has not learned a single thing about Trump. That is not Trump's MO, and he should know that by now. As Trump has said, great nations do not fight endless wars, and his foreign policy has backed that up. Trump's approach is best described as strategic engagement, decisive, limited strikes to secure America's interests, not open-ended occupations. Think back to the Soleimani strike and the cruise missile strikes on Syria in Trump's first term. And then in just the last year, we've had strikes on the Houthis, strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, and the 88-minute operation to capture Maduro. With Trump, it's one-and-done operations, not new Iraqs and new Afghanistans. I generally subscribe to Hanlon's razor, the idea that you should never attribute to malice what you can attribute to stupidity. But I'm honestly struggling with that right now because you have to be an absolute idiot to think that Trump would willingly march us into some giant endless war. It's not how he operates, and there is nothing happening right now to suggest that he's leading us in that direction. But here's the biggest issue right now for Republicans. This isn't a one-off with Vance. He has a pattern of being a complete dove, a total isolationist. And at times, not even knowing when diplomacy would actually be useful. This is now the fourth disturbing instance in just 1 year as VP. Remember the Pakistan-India crisis last year? Two nuclear powers, each with roughly 170 nuclear warheads, on the brink of a wider war after strikes into disputed territory. These countries genuinely hate each other, and they were firing on each other in a territory that both claim. Vance's response? Said it was none of our business. He took the view that it's on the other side of the world, so who cares? Who cares if two rising nuclear powers decide to start lobbing nukes at each other, right? Fortunately, Trump did not share that view, and he stepped in and helped cool things down and push them toward de-escalation. This was where diplomacy solved things, but Vance wanted to just sit back and do nothing. Then there was the leaked signal chat between top officials about whether to strike the Houthis after they started attacking ships in the Red Sea and just wrecking global shipping lanes. Vance opposed the strikes and said that we were making a mistake. His argument was that it would look like we were doing Europe's dirty work for them. And that's just an insane way to look at foreign policy. Translate that, it essentially means that if action would clearly benefit both Europe and the United States, but Europe arguably benefits more, then we should do nothing. Now, you can argue that we should have pressured Europe to do more, sure, but that's not what he did. He just said that we shouldn't act at all. And then just a couple weeks ago in Venezuela, he was absent, totally, completely absent. They claim he was in the room via secure video chat, but the administration very deliberately chose not to have him anywhere near the public rollout of the operation. At that podium was Trump, Rubio, and Hegseth. Rubio then did the media tour and became the face of Trump's foreign policy. Vance was gone, MIA, nowhere near the most daring foreign policy move of this administration. And now Iran. Once again, he's pushing for diplomacy and a nuclear deal while protesters are being slaughtered in the streets. Once again, he's trying to steer Trump toward an Obama-style approach. 4 times, 4 different situations, and J.D. Vance has had the same answer every single time. Don't act. And where do you think Vance is getting these ideas? His old pal Tucker Carlson, the same guy who swore that striking Iran would lead to World War III, economic collapse, and $30 gasoline. None of that happened. Tucker was spectacularly wrong. But to be fair to Vance, he did give a speech a few weeks ago where he called the World War III prediction people dumb. But do we have any reason to believe that Vance wasn't one of those people? Everything we've seen from him suggests that he's totally on Tucker's side when it comes to foreign policy. Just last week, he invited Tucker to the White House to sit in on talks about what to do with Venezuelan oil. So, no, a single speech from Vance does not convince me. Everything about Vance's record screams that he's fully on board with the Tucker Carlson, chronically online isolationist worldview. He's a populist taking his cues from what's popular on X, which is exactly why he can't be our 2028 nominee. And he knows people on the right are starting to figure that out. Here's where it gets really interesting. As soon as reports came out that Vance was pushing diplomacy, we got a leak from the White House. Then another leak saying that Vance and Rubio were together presenting options on how to deal with Iran. Vance and Rubio as a team. Then, after some viral tweets joking that Rubio would be the one doing all the talking, we got yet another leak. This time the story was that Vance would be leading the meeting all by himself, like the big boy that he is. With each leak, Vance's role mysteriously grows. First, he's just a voice pushing for diplomacy. Then he's co-leading the team presenting all the options to Trump. Then Rubio quietly disappears from the story, and suddenly Vance is the one leading the meeting alone. It sure looks like Vance's team is thinking more about 2028 than doing what's best for the country. Whatever you think of Trump, it's undeniable that his peace through strength foreign policy has produced concrete wins for America. And we have no idea where we'd be if he had just sat back and done nothing. If Vance keeps opposing the things that Trump does that actually work, it's only going to look worse for him. So what does his team do? They shove his name into every Iran headline they can, each day his role becoming more and more important. Whatever Trump decides to do, they want Vance's name on it. But deep down, we all know the truth. Vance is not aligned with Trump's foreign policy. No matter how many times we're told that he's in lockstep with Trump, no matter how many headlines we see about him leading foreign policy meetings, we've already seen behind the curtain. We know Vance is following the Democrat playbook, diplomacy without objectives. He has a history of opposing action, even when American interests are clearly at stake. He has a history of opposing peace through strength, which puts him in line with what the chronically online crowd pushing America first actually wants. Weakness disguised as restraint. Meanwhile, Trump and increasingly Rubio are the ones actually taking decisive actions that make America stronger and actually put America first. This isn't just about Iran. It's about what kind of leader we want next. Do we want another Obama-style diplomat who blinks when it matters? Or do we want someone who actually believes in peace through strength? None of us can say with certainty what the perfect move is in Iran right now. But we can see a pattern, and that pattern tells us that J.D. Vance does not have the judgment, or the backbone, or the instincts that conservatives need in a president. Rubio knows it, Trump knows it, And deep down, I think Vance knows it too. Thanks for sticking around and watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more honest truths about politics, culture, and religion. Drop a comment, let me know what you think. Is JD our guy? Should he be? To me, he's been far less impressive than Rubio, and I don't understand why anyone would want JD at this point. Give me your best reasons why JD should be the guy. And this will probably be my last video of the week. I'm heading to the Zach Brown Band concert at the Sphere in Vegas this weekend, so instead of a sports question, I'll give you guys a music question. What are some must-see concerts for you? This will be my 4th time seeing the Zach Brown Band, and I'm excited for this one to be the best one yet. And then in a few weeks, I get to go see Eric Church, who has been at the top of my list for years now. Anyway, let me know your thoughts, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.